Hi, everybody. Welcome to I'd Rather Be a Buffalo. My name is Kevin Gregg. Who are you?
I am Doug Riggle,
We're so
opposite
glad to
coast.
have you here. This is a show that's designed to help you get through life storms. I'll tell you what, we're actually picking up from a video that we did last time that you saw us. We're actually continuing on. Last time that Doug and I talked, we talked about the OODA loop, OODA, which is observe, orient, and then we're going to look at the last two parts of this today, which are decide and act. So the first episode, we looked at observing where you are, where something might be going wrong in your life, orienting yourself so that you sort of like fix your position and kind of go, what am I doing? And the last part of this that we're covering today is about deciding and acting. All of this is based on a Air Force pilot who learned this himself as he was, working in battle and combat situations where he said, "Oh, when I do this loop, it just helps me kind of move through." And that's what we're sort of talking about today, the backside of it. So I urge you, if you want to catch the first part of it, just go back into our videos, take a look, see what that is. We're going to talk about this other part, this deciding and acting. And Doug, I'm just gonna launch it off in the beginning. Like this decision part, I think it is so big, especially wherever you are, right? It is a moment where you realize like everything that you're doing is not working for
Right.
yourself, right? I've had this so many times in my life. Have you had examples of yourself have for yourself where you've gone, yeah, I'm kind of at a point here where I need to figure this out. What I've been doing is not working, and I need to make a change.
That's probably all the time. Just in the work I do, working with companies, helping them change, we get to a point where whatever this is not working, and I've got to figure out what's going to make them move forward. And the same, yeah, I apply the same process I do to my personal life as well. I'm like, this isn't working. I want to be here. I don't always necessarily know all the steps to get there, but I know this isn't working, so I've got to decide and do it about face a 180 or tweak what I'm currently doing if it's kind of working or not as well as I would expect. Um, but yeah, it's an ongoing process. It's
Yeah.
never ending process. I've discovered.
Have you ever seen? Because for those of you that are joining us too, Doug has a history in change management. Have there been times with companies that you have worked with where you have seen sort of those aha moments with clients, like where you've seen like a light switch go off? Or and I'm sure that they're very rare because it tends to be more of a painful process. But have you ever seen those aha moments?
There are quite a few aha moments. Just um, being very careful. I choose my words. So I don't want to throw any clients under the bus.
Of course.
But just seeing like their leadership team realizing we've been making decisions, there's one specific in mind. We've been making decisions with this information in mind, but we've neglected this set of information about change saturation, how much change is too much for my organization. And I brought them tools to help them look at that in a different way. And it was like this moment like, we need to start considering this before we do all these other things
Yeah.
the rest of this year. And it was a really nice aha moment for them to understand we can't keep operating the same way or we're going to kill our people.
Correct. Well, that's an interesting thing because I think that that'll touch on a little bit of the action stuff that we're going to talk about too, because it can be people really want to go, they make that decision where they say, this is it, this is the path that we're going. And again, eyes are bigger than their stomachs, right?
Right.
Or like what their wish list is and what they want to do is so distant from what they actually have resources, materials with them to. And that's not to say that you can't get there. It's just you're working with a limited set of things. And so it's not like we can't get there, but then that means we also have to be building these resources and adding to these skills or whatever and getting there so that we can eventually get there. It's not about throwing in the towel altogether.
Right.
You go,
Right.
well, I guess can't do it. I had two things that sort of popped up. I shared some of this with Doug earlier, but I remember specifically like two moments, and I'm gonna I'm going to give credit where credit's due. I've been listening to a guy on YouTube who I've just discovered. His name is Myron Golden. He talks about business principles from a with a gospel perspective. But he talks about like decision, like even that word decide is such a powerful word because it's even greater than just choosing, right? When you're choosing something, you're saying, well, I'm going to either choose this or I'm going to choose this, right? One thing he kind of unpacks decision as from and then side, which is a version of to cut, right? And it's literally making a cut or a part of you think about the covenants that would happen in the Old Testament, right? I mean, like it was always a covenant was always I'm cutting an animal, very gross thing, right? You're cutting an animal, splitting it in half, and you're walking between it and around it and coming together and making that agreement. Well, part of that reason that you're making that covenant is you're saying, I am making a blood vow with you based on what we see here, that if I do not fulfill what I say that I'm going to do, my fate will be just like this cut animal in half, right? And so part of this thing that he was talking about deciding or whatever, it's literally you're cutting off from the past, right? It
Mm.
is a burn the boats situation where you're going, yeah, it's it's over, right? It's finished. I remember that specifically. This is another example that not tied in with the other two, but I remember making that decision for myself when I gave up drinking. Like,
Mm.
popped open can of beer, and immediately Kate just said, every time I hear that beer pop open, my blood runs cold. And it was in that moment where I thought, this booze is not worth my marriage or my family. Like it was
Okay.
just that moment. It was like in that moment with that beer, and I just thought, that's the last one that I'm having, you know? Like it was like that was the decision for myself. And again, when you make that change, like people aren't used to it. Like about a week later, she was telling me, hey, I saw that there was some beer on sale. I was like going, Kate, I'm not drinking anymore. Like she was like, oh, like this is the deal. And
Yeah.
but I remember specifically having we chatted about it on the last episode when I was younger. Got really chunky and fat when I was around, 11 or 12, things that were going on. But I remember having that moment where I decided like I need to do something about this. And I didn't know what to do. Like I didn't, again, we're talking like, mid 80s, 80, 84, something like that, where people are like, it's not like they had this information like was free flowing and available. And so I remember, Doug, I don't know if you ever got this in school, but when I was in school, they used to have like the scholastic book club flyers
Mm.
that would come. So these things would show up and it'd be like, hey, here's the book club thing that you can get this month, right? So one of the things that popped up in the age range that I was at for like seventh and eighth graders was a diet and exercise book for girls. Like
Wow.
it was a diet and exercise book, and it was aimed at basically 12 or 13-year-old girls. And it was like pink and it was going to be slim and all this stuff. And I remember looking at that and I thought, I need to get a hold of that book because that book will show me what to do. And I remember just being petrified because I was also being harassed. And I'm at a small Catholic school where it's only like 25 kids in a class or with the same 25 kids. And I just thought, holy crap, man. Like if anybody sees what I'm getting. So I remember I ordered like three or four other books so that when the books were going to come, I was going to be able to kind of like duck them in. But I remember making that decision to go, I need to get that book so that I can understand what they would. Oh man, I got super lucky that day. I mean, I got it, and I was able to hide it from other students that were there, but just started unpacking and started understanding what calorie counts were, all of that stuff, like to eat that stuff. But it was really that moment of going, yeah, I need to make this change. I need to make this change. I don't know if that reminds you of anything for yourself in your life at all or no.
Just well, the obvious one is, and of course, my brain is now spinning off on like all the scholastic books I used to get, including Dynamite magazine and some other
Oh,
things
I
back in the day.
love those.
But that's a
Bananas,
different
Dynamite
topic.
magazine, Dynamite magazine and bananas. I'd have that
Yeah.
too.
But just the decision I made a little over a year ago when I found out I had cancer, it was that I need to evaluate what's in my control and what's out of my control. And 95% of everything was out of my control. but the diet and the exercise were within my control.
Yeah, right.
And I went to a very drastic diet of no processed foods, only fresh organic foods. It's kind of that idea you shop around the outsides of your supermarket. You don't go into all the processed things.
Correct, right.
And I mean, I lost 50 pounds. I dropped my cancer marker number from 4,000 something to 1,000 something
Yeah,
within a month.
yeah.
And it was radically life changing. And there's part of me that's trying to get I veered a little too far now back the other way,
Yeah,
a
sure.
little bit, not fully. I
Yeah,
need to now go back and like find that middle ground.
of course.
But it was that decision of like, I need to do something, but I can't control this. I can't control the cancer within my body.
Yeah.
But I can also look at supplements and what's worked for other people beyond just the traditional chemotherapy. So a
Yes.
lot of research into supplements, what was healthy, what was not healthy, and going from there and making decisions. And now I've got my list of things that I take from a supplement perspective, foods that I'll eat, foods that I will allow myself to eat. Like there's a lot of good benefits to dark chocolate
Sure.
and improving stem cells. So the battle with my body is all about um, I lost the word now. It's about my own immune system
Hmm.
being able to fight off the cancer. That's what it's really all about.
Yeah.
I've read studies that says everyone's got cancer in their body, their immune system knows how to attack it
Correct,
all
right.
the time. Mine forgot how to attack whatever, what I've got currently. So yeah, so being able to like cheat is not the right word because I'm not cheating. Dark chocolate's good for me. I'm
Yeah, right.
taking that and starting to like walk down this pathway of like, okay, this, not this, this, not this,
Correct.
this maybe on a special occasion. Pizza rolls.
Correct. What was that? What was that again? Say it again.
Pizza rolls. Once in a blue moon.
Holy
Yeah, I've got to
smokes. We're talking about Dynamite Magazine, pizza rolls. Might as well.
relive in my youth again.
So
But
funny.
no, but those decisions that I've made, it's that point of looking at here's where I'm at. Here's what all these pressures that I can't control. Here's this area that I can control. And I'm at first I was very rigid, and
Right.
now I'm a little bit more lax on that. So there's a fluid tension between those things of what I want to allow myself and what I want to. Again, I don't know. I could have 1 to 3 years left to live, according to the doctors, but that was over a year ago. Um, so do I want to just have this horrible, bland, boring diet for the rest of my life, or enjoy a few things
Yeah,
once
sure.
in a while?
Yeah. No, I get it. I think the thing that's popping up in my mind too, as you're talking about that, you know, we can also take a look outward. This is why consuming testimony of what other people have done or accomplished is also very uplifting, right?
Yes,
Like there are certain things that we know, okay, you know what? Somebody somebody else has done it. Or even when we go into scripture, seeing these moments where, God has allowed this to happen. And that's not to say that we're trying to do things where we need specifically a supernatural intervention or whatever. But I think that we can add that into the mix. But I do think that there is something so powerful about saying, you know what? I've seen people that people have written testimony or have talked about, you know, conquering their addictions or having fought stage 4 cancer to get it back into remission or whatever that stuff is. And to go, you know what? Okay, this this is not this is not impossible, right?
right.
There's a part of this that whatever area of this that I can control, there is a part of this that I can control, and I can make that personal covenant with myself to go, I'm going for it. I'm going for it.
Yeah,
I'm not keeping my feet in two things, right? It's not like having your foot in the boat and your foot on the dock and having it spread out like that. It's literally going, I'm going for it. I'm going in the boat and we're going to head towards that. And the good thing is that I've at least got examples of other people that have done it. Um,
absolutely.
so it's huge, right? But
Yeah.
it is that moment of like literally making that decision of going, I'm stepping off this dock and I'm getting in that boat and we're going or whatever. Or I'm on the dock, I'm sending the boat off and I'm burning so I can't turn back, right?
And sometimes those decisions really are forced upon you. You've got to make a decision. So many people I've known over my career who have been let go from a job only to find something incredible for them afterwards.
That's
And that
correct.
had they not been let go, they never would have taken the time to focus on this. And now
Correct.
they're living their best life because they've got these great things that they're working on.
Yes.
And it's
Now,
like amazing.
yeah, I will say this. I think that this leads us into the action part of what this is, right? Because the other thing that there is a requirement of at least doing something or moving forward, right? I
Yes.
get it. What you're talking about when you get blindsided by something that you weren't expecting, or just like, oh my gosh, I have to make this decision. I have to do this. But the only way that the change in the forward motion is going to happen is when you actually do something. And you can sit around forever and
Right.
you can just be like, yep, I've decided that I'm going to do that. I've decided that I'm going to do it. And until you actually make the first action with it, or at least the first step forward, you ain't going nowhere, right? Because I think, again, going back to a decision and action moment that I had recently over the last several years. Several years ago, I had made the decision because I had been a performer down at Disneyland forever, forever. I remember I was having this one moment where I just realized, like, I'm not I'm not in the right place anymore. Like, I'm going down here to do these shows and I'm good in them and I excel in them, but I know that I'm not moving forward. And, you know, at that time, I felt like a lot of management just wanted me right where I was because I was solving a problem, right? Hey, you're solving a problem. I don't have to worry about that. Great, perfect. Well, how about me moving? No, you're perfect right where you are, right? Well, I was having this moment where I was just realizing, I've talked to about it. I was like, I felt like my nose was just above water. I felt like I was walking in. I felt like I was making a D minus. That's D as in dog. I felt like I was making a D minus life decision for myself when I was coming in. And I think that part of the thing, I knew that I wanted to change, but I think part of what I was doing was I was kind of waiting for somebody to save me. I was
Mhm.
waiting for somebody to kind of come in and to go, oh my gosh, what are you doing here? We got to snatch you up and we got to use you, right? Well, people don't think that way at all.
No.
People
No.
don't think that way at all. They're only just concerned about their own little circle, their own troubles, their own issues that they got to do. And I think that that was a lesson that God was telling me, is to kind of go, I'm sorry, the only way that you're getting out of here is you have to start making the motion forward. You have to start taking the steps forward, the scary steps where at times I'm even going to be silent during this.
Yeah.
And once you've taken enough steps or whatever, now I can meet you partway and go, there you go. I just need you to do that. You know, I just need you to get out of town. Right. It's like he's telling me, you know, I got to get out of this old western town so I can get on to the big city, right? And for years I kept like kind of going out and then hanging back in and going out and hanging back in. And it's not till I'm way out there on the range that God can say, "Great. Finally glad you met me out here. Let's go."
Yeah.
And I've been hanging out by that town cuz so afraid of what was not going to happen. But it took the motion of I gotta leave. Like, I gotta leave everything that I know and everything that the known, the known bad stuff, and because it gives an appearance of safety, and just having to take that step. And it's not an easy one, not an easy one, but it's accomplishable, you know?
Yeah.
For
I was
yourself, anything like that?
I think in 2022 when I decided to move from Ohio to South Carolina, I just felt God's call to do something different. I was looking forward to a new adventure. And it was a new experience for me to think that way because I was very comfortable in Ohio, very comfortable. Had a nice house, lived in a couple of acres, had a pond, had gardens, it had friends, family, church, everything all. I knew where I was going every day. I knew how the world worked. And yet there was that decision point and looking at scripture and God's like, I want to do something new. Like, but I don't know what that is. It's like, I'm not going to tell you until
Yeah.
you make the decision and go do that.
Yeah.
And it's been a great decision for me personally. It's been hard in some cases. I mean, obviously now dealing with cancer, but it's been good for the church I'm attending because they needed someone like me with the experiences I had at other churches
Yeah.
to help them out. It's been good for me to grow and build new relationships, which I hadn't done in a long time.
Sure.
And now I'm forced to build new relationships, and I love the guys that I get to hang out with down here. But yeah, it's that when you were talking earlier about Disney, it's that Deus Ex Machina, that Greek tragedy of God comes in and rescues you. That doesn't exist. It can exist, and it does exist periodically.
Right.
But most of that was way long time ago, back in the Greek tragedy era, and we don't. That doesn't happen much anymore.
No, not at all. He's asking us to do some of the work so he can meet us part way and go, that's what I
Yeah,
need you to do. I need you to I need you to start the motion of going forward. And it's acting in faith. It's
yeah,
acting as if, right? Lord, I feel like you've put this thing on my heart. I feel like I've been convicted to move forward. I'm stepping out and acting in faith. And he needs us to do that part of it first before it can go, great, that's how it works. Let's go.
yeah.
Because it can't be, well, show me how to do it. And then, show me how everything's going to lay out perfectly. It's like God's going, it's not faith at all.
No,
Not faith at all. And that's not how, and I think that he does this also because to your point, um, Doug, when you're responding to that call that's in you, like going, what's going on here? Why am I getting this call? Because God is continually calling us to the great adventure, always,
yes,
throughout our entire life. And so it's always that movement forward. No matter what area it is. And I'll have to tell you, going to be a little bold here, like especially considering the stuff that you're facing yourself. But and I also throw this out for people that are in later stages of life or end stage of life as well. Um, just because things are also physically, maybe possibly physically breaking down, or you're not able to do something, it doesn't mean that your journey or your call is over either, right? Like he is calling
absolutely.
you to then go deeper and more reliant on him. Um, there's a friend of ours that we knew who had passed away from breast cancer at 42. Her name was Melissa, and spent some time with her about a week and a half before she passed away. But it was like you could tell that there was a transition that was going on for her, where it was a thing of like kind of going, I'm moving into a different stage here, and this stage is now, this is God. God and I are working through something together right now at this point. And so my example with that is not being morbid, but it's the idea is that these calls and decisions and actions that are happening, they will change throughout the course of our life, but they do not go away.
Right.
They're in different forms always. And so there's always something that we're being called to, even if it's about growing deeper into our relationship and giving over and our submission to him as well. It's man, it's something else. Anything you want to add as we wrap this up about our OODA loop?
No, it's been a good conversation. Is just thinking through all the macro decisions and the micro decisions. It's like at some point you've got to come to a point and like then readjust and move forward. It it can work the same way. The OODA can work the same way, whether it's big decisions, selling my house, moving across the country, or little decisions on even like, you know what? We've been as a family stuck in the same routine for the past 6 months. Let's do something different. Get ourselves out of the house in a different way and see a different part of the world. It's a small thing, but it can have such a good impact on everyone.
I immediately got a flash in my mind, which would cause instant divorce. And I thought, great, we're getting rid of all the TVs and screens in this house.
Yeah. Good luck with that. Let me know how that works out for you.
It wouldn't. Uh, Amazing. Uh, how did Doug and I discover all of this stuff for ourselves and we continue to work through it? Writing is one of the ways that we do it. Writing a conversation like we're having right now. Um, Cannot encourage you enough. Take pen to paper. Take pen to paper. We have material and sources that are available for you right now at I'd rather be a buffalo.com. If you've never done any version of writing or journaling, head over there. We have free materials. We've got other stuff that's available there that can help you get into the practice of writing this stuff down. Because if you start writing this stuff down and capturing it, you can start observing what's going on for yourself, orienting, figuring out where you are, making that decision, and laying out a plan of action for yourself so you can move forward to what God's purpose and plan is in your life. So please go over to I'd rather be a buffalo.com. Follow us on Instagram at I'd rather be a buffalo. That's where you can keep up to date with most of the stuff that we have here. We cannot thank you enough for joining us. If you like this video and you want to hear more things about how you can get through life storms, how you can discover what God's purpose is for yourself and getting through those challenging times and deepening your relationship with God, please like, subscribe, and if you can, share this with a friend that you know that might benefit from it. Thanks so much for joining us on this episode, and we will see you on the next one. Bye bye.